In 1993, Final Approach changed the way we hunt waterfowl. Now, over 25 years later, we're back at it. My name's Mario, host of the FA podcast. Let's talk waterfowl tips, tricks, tactics, and more. It's all going down right here with the Final Approach podcast. What's going on? It's Mario, FA podcast, throwing up another good one today. We got some stuff going on. Before we get into it, we're gonna talk some shooting today. Today, as always, the podcast and the Last Pass web series and everything gets brought to you and helped by the guys at Federal Ammunition that we partner with, Loopholds, Roger Sporting Goods, Tyler up in Saskatchewan at Sask Goose Companies, and Man's Meats, and and the guys at Weatherby who we got on today. And we're going to talk, like, shooting, obviously, getting ready for, the peak of bird season, chasing birds, getting ready, what you should do, what you can do, like how to get prepared, like just some tips and topics that we could discuss so we can go over. So Kyle, you can introduce yourself, then we'll get to Tyler. Just let everybody know what you do and what your handle is, so they know, like, oh, if he starts talking about whatever, he's full of it, because that's not his job. So
Kyle Killen, international sales manager for Weatherby, and just do a lot of our shotgun testing, and unfortunately got tasked with tagging around with you, Mario. So
yeah, or there could be worse things. Come on.
And I'm Tyler Grayton. I'm the marketing manager here at Weatherby. Kyle kind of sold himself a little bit short there. He's our resident shotgun guru, super passionate about it. So when we're doing product development, he is the most eager one to start product testing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, he's the guy that all the ammo companies need to send the bill to, because that's the guy who just burns it to the ground.
They do send the bill, it's like, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was talking with our friends from Federal about turkey shells, and I got a bunch of turkey shells all hooked up, and Kyle's like, "Hey, you got a little extra box in there for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So
it never fails. He's
never
low on ammo.
On the socials, so
you got all socials? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was gonna say socials, Weatherby Inc. If you want to follow along with the crew. We post a lot of stuff all from hunting, but we've been boosting our waterfowl content and stuff like that. So
well, and the podcast, you get the Weatherby podcast and stuff, like everything you can get. You can go to the YouTube channel. Like, you guys have some cool stuff. And listen, like, if you don't know by watching us and our YouTube channel and what goes on with us, obviously you guys are not just a rifle company. Shotguns have been made for a long, long time at Weatherby. So there's a lot going on. So, that killer rifle that you have, you might want to get a killer shotgun. Like,
yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's fun to hear people. We've been making shotguns for over 50 years. So to be like a small part of getting to do some of the bird stuff is honestly a blessing, working for Weatherby. So check it out. Yeah, we have a ton of good options for, anywhere from entry level to some high-made Italian-made shotguns. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I've gone the full route. I mean, Kyle knows, like, I had, like, for Cole, for my son, like, I had a SA08, which he grew out of. Then I got an Element 20, and he's into that now. And then every once in a while I steal that. I'm not gonna lie. So, and he'll probably, like, want to shoot my 18i this year. Like, he's growing and growing. So go ahead.
It's not a question of he's going to want to. I heard it pretty much he already laid dibs on that.
Oh yeah, he likes the Habitat 3-inch one, which is fine, because I do shoot that well, but, like, I always fall back to my bottomland 3.5-inch, and I don't know what it is. And it's just abused. Like, you guys would cry if you saw it. Like, the barrel's all scratched from being in the boat and being in the layout blind. But I don't know, for whatever reason, like, that's my go-to. So stuff seems to die with it when you pull the trigger, but just not in Wyoming sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Every now and then you just got to punch a few holes in the sky and
You
wave
know,
at
when
'em.
somebody handles my ammo.
Nothing to do with it.
Redemption for this year's 2-shot event. More on that later in a few months. We'll see. Hey, so let's start it off with you know, like obviously you're not going to become a better shot. Well, let's start here. Are you thinking of getting a new gun? If you did get a new gun, like we could start right from there. Like if you did get a new gun or you're coming back from last season, like you should pick up like right where you left off if you were dialed in last season, right? With ammo in your choke. Say you got a new gun, say you're changing ammo, say you're doing whatever, like you got to start somewhere, right?
Yep.
So Kyle, if I said, hey, I bought a brand new 18i, like what do I do?
So first thing I do is take it apart and wipe it down, get a light oil across it, because when they come over from Italy, they put a light oil in it that is a protectant to keep it from corroding in the box.
Right.
The thing is, that does not make good gun lube. So best thing to do, pull it apart, give it just a light wipe down, get it together, check your chokes. I like to pretty much, for most of our duck hunting, I go straight into either modified or, whatever I'm running that season. So this season I'll be running Moeller. Get that in the gun, and then it's time to grab some different ammo and hit the board, see what it wants to do. So
I think that's always a good opportunity when you take it straight out of the box. Actually take some time. I'm guilty of this, as that I'll take it out of the box and I'll just start, running through it. But with the inertia system, it is a very simple system. So become familiar with it so you can take it apart. You should be able to take it apart, put it back together. If you're either in the field or at home, you're just going to be a better marksman overall when you understand how your shotgun works and how to make those adjustments in field if you need to clean something or you're on a road trip or you drop your gun in the water. So
if something
think
stuck or
that's an
something
off-season
happens,
thing.
that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. Like if you're in the field and you got to take it apart. And listen, the guns today are not like they used to be. Like you'd have 57 parts you'd have to like keep track of, and you'd have to, oh my God, like it is not that anymore. Like you can take that apart, like whatever it is. And I've taken them all apart, whichever it is, element, the 18i, like I could crank them apart real quick.
Well, it's so much easier to learn about that in the summer in your house while you're, unpacking it, rather than, after Jet knocks it off a tree into the pond and you got to pull it apart and dump some water out. Like way easier, less stressful if you already know what you're doing. So,
well, he was just testing to see if you guys make something good and somewhat waterproof and how good it was. Like he's part of the research and development crew. Like if something's going to happen, like, yes, he will do it. So yeah,
I'm aware. I've got a Weatherby patch to put on his vest there, since he's a sponsored pro staff member now.
Yeah, he's part of the R&D. So, okay, so let's talk about like chokes. You want to go through, like, first you obviously want to pick like, okay, I'm going to shoot this ammo. You know what I mean? So like with us and the web series and everything, obviously we're shooting federal. So like I know what Speed Shock does in my, Pattern Master decoy tube, right? And then I also know what Black Cloud does in that tube, and then I also know what Black Cloud does in like my mid-range tube, which isn't ported. None of them are ported. I don't shoot anything ported anymore. I'm just past that. I don't need the noise. I don't think it changes anything. So
it actually usually worsens the pattern, honestly. So
yeah. So I mean, I know what those do. So I know my range. I know everything. I also know, like I always tell everybody, like put a jug on a pond and shoot it and see like where your pattern's going on the water. Like, because if you got a water swat, like what does it look like? Because
yeah, it's a poor man's patterning board, which I mean, and that's the other part of it is you're not just looking to find the right load with it, but with the 18Is, for example, there's, they come with shims. So if you're a left-handed shooter, right-handed shooter, you're going to want to cast it appropriately. Then you're going to want to figure out your drop and how much you need. So everybody's face is different. So for me, I like to see just about the last 2 or 3 inches of the rib and just
Okay.
a little bit of bead right there. So
Okay.
I'll set that up to start with, but then I'm going to go out to the board and I'm going to practice just, at 30 yards, I'll put a full choke in it with some lead shot to be cheap. And I'm just going to pull up and I'm going to shoot. And I'm going to make sure that I'm putting my pattern roughly where I want it to be.
Right.
So, not aiming, just pulling up, looking at it quickly. As soon as I think I'm right on there, squeeze trigger, let it go, and see if that shotgun is hitting where I am looking. If
Right.
it's
Just to
not,
get
then I'm gonna
started.
yep. And
Right.
then if it's not, then I'm going to make adjustments on it, go from there.
Right.
And then we will also start with, after that, like once I've kind of been there, then I'm going to start doing, load testing, figure out what I'm going to like, do I want to shoot twos? Do I want to shoot threes?
Right.
Which choke do I want to use? I like to play around with the factory chokes to start with, just because it's good to know, especially
Sure.
like, aftermarket chokes are expensive. So you shoot this area 90% of the time, you're probably going to buy an aftermarket choke that's going to be perfect for that. But, all of a sudden you go to a spot like we hunted the hot tub and it's in close.
Yeah.
You might want to back off a little bit. So you're going to, you want to know what that improved cylinder is going to do, especially if you start throwing in some threes or fours to open it up. So.
Yes, agreed. So you need, and like you said, the pattern board is awesome because you can see where you're at on the board, right? The reason that I say like hit the water and shoot something on the water is just to see, because on the pattern board you can't see like when it gets there, right? It's just on the board immediately, right? So, but on the water you could see like, are you running a regular choke? Is your shot string really long? If you're running an aftermarket and a wad grabber, how short is it? Like where you need to aim? Like you gotta, there's a little bit of science to all that you gotta kind of feel out and get read into. And the more you do, obviously before the season and before you get into it, the less guessing and the less like thinking and headache, and like when you start getting the jitters and start missing.
Yeah,
It's a
then
lot mental.
Yeah, it's all mental at that point. No, I mean, I
Right.
like to do early in the season anyways, because, my thing I used to always do is we go to Rogers after we figure out what we're going to shoot. And it's like, hey, I'm going to get like 3 cases for the season.
Right. Right.
And so it's like Dad and I'd order them up, and have them sit in the garage. And then it's like, you're not scrambling, especially now, after everything we've seen with COVID and the ammo situation. I mean, it's getting way better now. But at the same time,
it is.
I'm still kind of glad that I had those plans in place early, because it gave me time to go and find ammo. So,
well, and then you can, like I'm always a big proponent of like going the extra mile. Like, like if you have pigeon to shoot, or if you have blackbirds to shoot, like if you go to like a blueberry farm and they want you to shoot the blackbirds, and obviously you have to look at the regs and make sure that there's not a bird that you can't shoot or whatever. If there's a pest bird, like like I said, pigeons or this, or some places have the collared doves that aren't on the on the game bird listing, or then you get into doves and then it's like a warm up before the season, or if you have early teal, like there's so many opportunities to, and just sporting clays, like that's all. Like Tyler, you were talking about that. That's a whole other thing. Like I'm not in a league, I'll go shoot a little bit, but I like shooting at moving things like with wings. Like that's just me.
Yeah, I think it's just another skill to learn to keep that edge. I like to, so I was lucky enough, I did shoot in college on the zoo's club sporting team. So I was one of the guys that, like golf, I had to shoot a lot to be pretty decent. So I know Kyle's in some leagues and stuff here, but there's something to be said when you get with I feel like I always shoot better when I'm by myself, but when you're with a group of guys, like you're going to be when you're duck hunting,
right?
There's a little added pressure there, a little bit of competition that's gonna, when that first big flock comes into the year, you're gonna be ready to go. So I just think it's a good tool, whether it's sporting or whether it's at your buddy's farm, just shooting every couple weeks, just to keep. You don't want your first time to be, a big wad of teal coming in and it's opening morning of early teal season, and then you whiff because you're not concentrating on the bird. You're seeing this flock and you're just shooting, right? You want to. I think those really help hone your skills throughout the summer. So.
Yeah, and I don't think any of those are bad. They're all good in whatever combination you can do. And the other thing you were talking about was, okay, if you shoot like you're going to hunt, like if you, and it's a little different, obviously, like if you hunt out of the boat a lot, like you can't just pull the boat up to the sporting clays course, and start just ripping. But if you're in a layout blind and they let you do stuff like that, if you're in a layout blind a lot during the season or whatever, or you could just go somewhere with a thrower and shoot, some guys shoot a lot out of just like regular little layout boats. Like you can put that on the ground somewhere and just shoot out of it, so, practice how you hunt as well. That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
If you're,
layout.
oh, sorry, Kyle. I was going to say, if you're shooting a lot of clays, don't get in the habit of having your gun mounted and yelling pull. Because that is, I mean, if you're doing it for competition, yes, go ahead,
Right.
be in the full mount position. But if you're truly practicing to be a better shot, you need to start, Olympic style, where you're here on your side and then you're pulling it all up to your face, because you know how it is coming out of a layout boat or layout blind. You got to engage all the core muscles. And get that all the way to your face. If I miss, it's because I get excited and I don't get my gun up my face. So that's where I know I struggle. So I have to really practice getting that gun to the same spot, whether I'm crouched or starting from the crouch position, just getting it to that same spot to stay consistent.
Well, I like shooting from the layout blinds too, just because it gives you that much more time to also get familiar with your blind. Like with the ones I'm running, my old FAs, how many wraps you put on that bungee cord depends on how fast that door goes and if it's going to come back at you, maybe. So,
right.
So I like to kind of fine tune the door a little bit there too, but also just get in the habit of clearing that door while also getting my hand on the gun. So, stuff like that I find helps.
Well, and when are you, like Tyler said, like when do the ducks come in and you're just like this? Oh, you know what I mean? Like, that, like sometimes they're coming from a long ways and you think it's going to happen, but you don't have the gun up. Maybe you have your hand on it, but you're totally not like, guns up, like safety off. And I'm just like, they're coming, they're 100 yards out. Like, you might as well be at full draw and you're just waiting for, the animal to clear and you're doing it for like 2 minutes. Like that's not what you're going to do. Plus, if you do that, you're probably going to miss because you're just like, I'm on it. You're going to miss.
Yeah. You're aiming. You're not actually like just
100%. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, could you imagine coming around a tree already with the gun up, just creeping around?
Oh yeah.
Right here.
Oh yeah. Well, sure.
I think
you said, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say another fun game with that to kind of practice like you play is you can get true pairs or you can get doubles, but
yes,
I really like if I'm shooting clays, if I'm with a buddy or even on myself, shooting the chips. So if you break that second follow-up shot where you have to shoot a clay and there might be a big enough chip within that clay to shoot that again, because it really helps with cripples. And if you hit him once, you got to get back on him or acquire another target. With a true pair, if you're a competitive shooter, your hold points, and as soon as you shoot there, you go right to your second hold point. So if you want to practice kind of like you play, as we're talking about, try to shoot those chips. It's fun to play knockout too. I don't know if you guys have played that game, but if you get a chip, you knock someone out. So like to kind of keep it fun too.
I played a game at like, where the hell did we do it? I don't know if it was like a DU or Delta thing. I don't know what it was, but it was teams. It was 2-man teams and you had to sign up, right? And you got to whatever stand it was, right? They had one that was layout blinds. They had one like that was in the trees. So you didn't know how many plays were coming or when they were coming, right? and listen to me. This shit was so incredible. I'll never forget. We were in the layout blinds on the one, and we watched the guys before, and I was like, holy shit. And I was telling my partner, I was like, listen, I was like, you shoot first, then I'm going to shoot. Then while I'm shooting, you're reloading, because it's not like two come out and then they wait. Oh no. It's like one comes out, then another comes out, then two come out, and it's like a shit show, right? So you're like jamming shells in. I got this one, and like so it's like, yeah, it was warfare, is what it was. It was insane, but that was probably one. Like obviously, you're not going to get into a situation like that. Like maybe in like an early season teal, or maybe a snow shoot up in Canada or down here or whatever, like a high volume. But I'll tell you what, like you had to be on it. So that was a pretty good game. So if you can get control of the clays and how they're coming out, oh yeah, that game is bananas.
Yeah. We have something like that with our clay machines that we've played with. That actually, since they're computer controlled, you can, once I designate the fields and the range, you can put it in flurry mode, and nothing is ever the same.
Right. And that's really going to get you like on your toes, because you don't know what's coming. Like the birds don't come in the same time every time, the same way every time. Like they're not going to do this. Like you got to be ready for pretty much anything. So
that's how I caught that thumb in an autoloader one day, was trying to keep up with the flurry, and it didn't work so well.
Oh my God. I was like, I remember I would only shoot twice, and then I would always have one in the pipe. So I would shoot twice and reload. So I always had one in, shoot twice. So then I kept going under and reloading. So that kept it a little faster. So then you never, and I wish I was like good at like 3-gun, where I could like shoot 2 and then slide 2 in and keep going. Like that's, but it's like, I'm not going to be in like a waterfowl firefight. You know what I mean? So I think I'll be okay. So
I don't know, Mario, you probably have a couple of stories where there were so many ducks you had to shoot your way out.
Kyle's been on a couple, like when we were up at Tyler's in Saskatchewan on some snows, but I literally had one last year with Brad Fenson in Alberta. And it was one of those like that you tell and you're like, I can't believe the birds are doing that. Like literally we were shooting, and it was like reloading just like that as fast as you can. And I was like, I've never seen that. And literally probably in 20 minutes, I bet you we shot like 40, 45 snows. The 3 of us, there was only 3 of us. And it was like, and all Brad keeps yelling is like, keep reloading. And I was like, and I couldn't believe it. Like, and then we're shooting stuff, and we shooting the snows, and they're so close that they're like they're hitting your legs, and you're jamming more shells in, and you're like, I got to defend myself. So that was one of those deals. It was insane. And we've had some duck hunts up there too, where it's like group after group, and it's like defend yourself. Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, that's like, I don't want to say that's few and far between, but if you get into something like that, like you don't even know which one to pick out and shoot. And you're like, okay, I got to take my time, but then like chaos is going on. So it's pretty nuts. So that does happen. So that's a good thing. Let's talk like maintenance, or just like, let's say like taking care of your shotgun, because I know there's like, I don't know. I know a lot of people that are like, well, my gun's not cycling right. And I'm like, like we'll be on a hunt, I'll have some guys out, like this isn't cycling right. And I'm like, I get it. And you're like, you're like cracking the bolt back, and it's like just gum. And you're like, when did you clean it last? Oh, I don't know. Like
2017.
I don't know. 72. Like when I had a sweater vest on, like holy shit. Like what? So I don't know. So maybe run through some things. Like I can tell if we've been out somewhere where maybe it was really wet out here, go figure. It was really wet, or we get somewhere where it's real sandy, right? And there's like dust or sand in, or just like general, like, hey, it's been a little bit and I could tell I just probably need to clean it. So like, I don't know if there's like a schedule people should follow or what they should do. I just watch for the signs and I know like when I need to clean it because of what's happened in the past, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also do the one thing that most people don't do after hunting on a rainy day, and you have your gun sitting barrel down back at the cabin.
I always do it.
Yeah,
And that's
I just
from
feel a lot
living
of guys
here.
never do. Yeah, I know.
Oh
and
my
they-
God.
a lot of guys never do, and that's where they start rusting out, spring tubes. So, no, my big thing is it's like you can usually feel when it's going to start to kind of drag because the bolt
Right.
is not going to feel slick. Couple of things I usually tell guys: don't over lube the gun. Like the big thing is pull it apart, get it really well, nice and clean. I like to use a toothbrush to get into the rails
yeah.
where the bolt rides because you get
Yep.
it out there. Make sure, like I tell guys, if you're duck hunting every weekend, like once a month at least, pull the trigger guard out or trigger group out and get back where that spring is and wipe that out because I am notorious for getting grass and other stuff in mine,
Yep.
usually from the layout blinds and everything.
Yeah.
And then I like to use compressed air just to blow the trigger group out of anything that's in there, leftover.
I've totally gone to that this year. I ended up like buying a little compressor for at the house and in the
it's just so much
garage.
easier.
And it's so easy. And literally, I just did it the other day to put them away after doing some shooting. And I was like, because listen, some of the shells, like you're running, like if you're shooting like, lead at clays or whatever, like it's pretty it's pretty dirty. So, like I use the compressor, I blow it out, I blow everything out, I blow the barrel out, I blow everything out, the trigger assembly, like everything that I could do. Then, like you said, I'll put some spray cleaner in it to clean, and then I'll lube real lightly and then back together and in the thing. So in the safe. So I haven't had an issue with anything. And I know, some guys will say, oh, well, you get your guns from Weatherby, so of course you're not going to say anything. Like legitimately, I have not had an issue other than me breaking something. I'll go. Kyle will laugh. He's already laughing. I've had the 18 eyes. This will be the 4th year for 2 of them. And I haven't had any issues on either one of those. I haven't had to replace anything other than your
bolt release.
The bolt release, because I wanted to drill and tap one and I screwed up. So that was on me. But nothing's failed. Like I haven't had any
real press.
Yeah. Just minor stuff. I haven't had any trigger issues. I haven't had, this is operator error. I've knocked the bead off. So I had to get another bead, and like I end up like super gluing my beads on because I'm just like, I'm so bad and it takes like such a beating. So like,
I think that was Jet that knocked your bead off when he took it off the tree.
Well, he's not going to pay for it or put it back together or glue it. So guess who's got to do it? So yeah, I haven't, and I didn't, Cole hasn't had any issues with that 20. That's the thing, like, and listen, Tyler will tell you up in Saskatchewan, like those guys are just coming in and however many clients he's running, they just abuse them. And, he had some minor things where the guys were losing the charging handles. Like,
because they're playing with them in the blind.
Right. So it's like, what the hell are they? How are they losing the charging handles? We were all like dumbfounded.
Yeah, no, and he's one of the ones that he uses compressed air too. His guys, every once a week they'll sit there and they'll pull it apart and they'll blow it out and get everything out of there. And then, the one thing too, like you get into that barrel there and you get into where the bolt lugs lock up and make sure that's cleaned out.
Right.
These guys are really good about getting in there with a toothbrush and making sure, because if you get enough powder, unburnt powder residue in there from, days of hunting. I mean, we've stacked up a lot of bodies and a lot of shells have gone off.
Yeah.
It gets up in there and then that bolt can't rotate in. It's like, well, that's when you're going to get a Benelli click. So these guys are great at keeping those cleaned out, once a week. And the big thing I always tell guys too, it's like you can oil them but just after you get done oiling them, take a dry towel and just wipe off the excess, because the excess is where you start getting the sludge. So
Well, that, and we'll come right to you, Tyler. That, and like when we get a lot of rain, or I mean, you mix water with, you know, a lot of residue, and all you're doing is making freaking Quikrete, right? So that's one thing. And the oil is another thing. So you start mixing that, like, then it starts sludging up, and now you got issues, and that's no good. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it doesn't really take that long to clean a gun. And it's just like where I make that mind connection is that it might take me 3 hours to get back into a place, get set up. If I'm dragging decoys, I'm doing all of these things. I can take 5 minutes to clean my gun because you might only get one group that day.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have a malfunction. And a huge percentage of any kind of malfunction on anyone's shotgun is maintenance. It really is maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't say, if you have a Ferrari and you don't put oil in it, you can't blame the Ferrari, right? So it's little things like that are going to make you a better hunter in the end. And you might only get 1 or 2 opportunities per hunt. Like if you're hunting public stuff, like sometimes you get good days, and some days it's like you got to work for it. So don't go that far and let an opportunity slip away.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I have, like, somebody puts oil in my Ferrari, bro. I don't touch it.
The analogy was a little off there, but you get what I'm saying.
but it's true. Like, like you spend all this time on doing everything else. Like, it really doesn't take that long to do to clean the gun. I think the only I don't want to say malfunction, but I think the only thing that I've had happen is there has been only a few times that I haven't shouldered the gun right if I come up on a bird too quick or something, and I won't get it in line and take, so it'll eject right and cycle, and that's on me. So that's happened. And it's happened, and listen, I've shot a lot of rounds, and every once in a while there'll be, it happens. There's a bad primer. Like, it happens. If you shoot the amount of shells, we go through when we're on a trip, or the whole year, like every once in a while you're going to get something like that. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I have not had issues other than operator error. So I'm like, for the price and what you get on that 18i, like, I don't, like, listen, I know it's always a struggle. Like, we're fighting you guys are fighting, like, I'm trying to help. Like, you guys are fighting, all these names and whatever on the gun side, but it's like, I'm telling you right now, I've shot everything, and I'm good where I'm sitting right now. Like, I wouldn't use it if it was not quality, and I wouldn't steer people if it wasn't quality. So you guys are doing the right stuff. So I mean, guys need to really shop around and look, or try a buddy's. Like, shit, come to my house, I'll give you one. You can try it all you want.
So
and obviously before the season, so like, say you ended the season with like something happening with your gun, or you had an issue, and maybe you're busy, maybe you don't have time, take it out and get the issues fixed if there is something, or get it looked at. Like, listen, we're like, I don't know what it's like where you guys are at, but the gunsmiths and the guys working on stuff, and gals, like whoever you go to, like they're backed up like just as much as like taxidermy guys. So if you think you're just going to drop a gun off and he's going to like fix your problem in like a week, and you're going to get it back, before, hunting season gets rolling or whatever, like, you better plan ahead. So
yeah, I mean, I know a lot of them have quit doing it. A lot of guys used to take and drop their autos off at the end of the season, have them get cleaned out, and then they put fresh springs in depending on what the gun was. If it had a weak extractor spring, whatever. I think those days are long gone with how backed up everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the big thing is just, I tell people, it's like, clean them after the end of season, and then go out and shoot them and make sure that you're staying on top of your stuff. Because, the number one thing I ever see in a blind, doesn't matter who makes the gun, is dirty gun combined with, adding water to it and you're waterfowl hunting. If it's that filthy, you're going to make sludge and it's going to sludge up and it's not going to run.
There's no doubt. Like, I learned a long time ago. I have and you've seen it. We talked about it. Like, I have a garbage can right next to my desk in the garage where I clean birds and clean guns and do everything. And I literally come home and the gun gets barreled down in the garbage can. And so all the water can run down, because if you put it the other way, if water starts running down in that spring in the stock, like, you got a whole other like freaking pile of issues, and you are not going to find that out until it is too late.
Well, and I like to clean out my spring housing at the end of season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with the 18i, the recoil pad doesn't have screws, so you can just peel that elastomer pad off, slide the stock off, and then, the first time you do, it's a blowtorch to melt the Loctite, pop it off. But I like to go to a full deep clean on my gun at the end of season, just because, we travel a lot. We use other people's blinds sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm notorious with the grass of getting it in there and just grinding it slowly back into my spring. So clean that stuff out and just, doing an end of season, maintenance checkup. It never hurts.
Yeah. And I always take the butt pad off and look and just make sure, like, I don't see anything going on there. And if I feel it's okay, I just keep going. So, but I have done that. But I don't feel I need to do that often if I do all the other preventative stuff to not get stuff jammed back there. So,
and the thing is if you do that at the end of the season, when you want to go out and start shooting skeet and start shooting sporting clays, you're already ready to rock. You don't have to sit there and start planning ahead of time. So that it's game on as soon as the range opens up and the weather's nice.
Well, we learned, I learned it as a kid. Like, it didn't matter what you went, when me and my brother would go with my dad, like, you never put a dirty gun away, ever. No. Like, never. Like, I don't care if you took the rifle and shot 2 rounds out of it, right, to sight it in, like, you cleaned it. Like, there was no, it wasn't an option. Like, you just didn't, you didn't put it away. If you didn't clean it, like, you didn't get to shoot it next time. So that's just the way I grew up. So that's like, I'm just so used to that. So, and that's kind of a good rule. Like, especially if you're just like, if you're going to let it sit, I would say do that. Like, obviously I don't clean it every day we hunt. Holy God. Like, I can't do that. That's impossible.
That'd be about $50 million in patches.
Holy. I would just get a tank and just throw it in the tank and then just like turn it upside down and then just keep going the next day. So, yeah.
No, I mean, you don't have to do it every day is the thing. It's, I just tell guys, be aware of if you get a lot of moisture in your guns, you're going to want to get that moisture out. So don't leave them in the case soaking wet. That's the Oregon rule.
I think that's easy. That's an easy one to follow. Let's talk. Okay. So we talked like, hey, we're going to pattern. Hey, we're going to, know what we're doing, know what our gun does. We're going to take care of it. What do you guys have? Let's talk about the company for a little bit. Is there something new this year? Are you guys still moving forward with everything? Like, let's talk some guns and some options. And, so guys can compare, like, even, we're not going to like be nail on the price, but we could talk some pricing ballparks so guys understand what they could get into, a new Weatherby for,
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got the 18Is on the 3-inch and the 3.5 inch. Right. So, anybody can get what they want. Got the mix of mossy oak, got the mix of real tree. We even have some First Light options with Cerakote, and then the good old just standard synthetic that everybody loves.
Right. The black, right.
Yeah. And then something different that we're bringing out right now is our new side-by-side. So for guys
nice.
the guys who want to go a little more traditional, It's a great option. Like it is true Nash Buckingham style with the straight English stock and the double triggers. So, you know, and it's going to come with 5 choke tubes in it too, just like the 18i does. So,
Oh my God.
oh yeah, you've got options there. So for guys that
Well,
want to
it's
kind
going to be in a 12 and a 20 gauge. So we'll have
Yep.
20 gauge options. And I'm probably just going to say it, probably by the time this podcast's out, we will have 410 options in that as well.
Oh, shnikes. Look out.
yeah, that was where the ammo bill came in, because I get to go shoot those 410s a whole bunch. So federal
Nice.
bill.
So it's going to have a real traditional look. So what is it? What's it called? So folks can look out for that.
That will be the Orion side by side. So
Orion side by side, just like the over and under name,
Yep.
but just side by side.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Simple, easy to find. So I think it's gonna be a real fun one, especially for guys that, especially if they hunt in tight little timber pockets. That gun's gonna be a lot of fun, especially in a 20 gauge.
Oh yeah.
Stoke her up with some bismuth or something and just let her have at it.
Well, and I mean, think about it. Like, not like if you waterfowl hunt, you chase, quail or chuckers or pheasants or huns or grouse. Like, you're not gonna, if you have the money, you don't have to lug your 18i through the woods chasing rough grouse. You know what I mean? Like I would take that little 20, and you know what I mean, side by side, and I'd hump the woods, and that'd be a blast. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
we designed it too. So instead of going with ejectors, we went with extractors for that very reason. Because like I get tired of like picking up shells out in the field.
right.
So for a gun that's, you're not worried about some sort of like, you're not doing an Argentina dove shoot where you got to be able to have those shells flying out so you can stuff 2 more in.
Right.
It made a lot more sense for our style of hunting. So
right. Well, on a side by side, like you're not going to shoot. You're not going to. Well, maybe you can shoot tournament clays with it. I don't know. You know what I mean? But you don't need to. You know what I mean? You don't, like you said, you don't need that. So we also have the Orion over and under too, if guys want to look at that. So there's over and under, there's side by side. Then on the youth model, we're at SA08 still, right? That's been around forever, and that's like, it's just a short youth model that, like I said, Cole fit right into that when I got it.
Yep. Yeah, it's got the spacer there, so you can shorten up the length of pole for, and it's not just for youth. I mean, if you got a guy who's shorter in general,
yeah,
the stock's going to fit him way better, and he's not going to take the recoil pounding from shooting a gun that's too big. So
right, and it could be for smaller ladies. It could be anything.
A lot of guys do use it as a coyote gun, as well, for the guys who call and have the rifle set up, but when those coyotes get real close with a shotgun, it's pretty handy on those tight quarters too. So I've had a lot of guys tell me that they use that particular shotgun on the coyote side too. I know
I don't doubt it.
A coyote podcast, but
no,
if you're
listen,
looking for something a little vertical,
I would 100%, do that, because we always take a shotgun on the coyote hunts, and I guess I never even thought of that, but I am always in the Vanguard 223, like that's my fur pounder, and the and somebody is always on the light with a shotgun. So yeah, there's always backup, because you never know, like, are you going to get snuck real close? So yeah, I think that's a cool option.
yeah.
So then you get Element, which is a Turkish made gun, and all the semis are inertia,
Except for the SA08. SA08 is a gas gun, just because inertia guns and youth shooters can be tricky.
Yes.
Like we had talked about, if you don't shoulder the gun,
yep,
you're going to have problems. So
yep.
So we tried playing that with 20 gauge on inertia guns, and it's it's not 100% for a youth shooter. So they're still kind of developing those fundamentals of how to shoulder a gun. And so
so before we go on the Element 18i, do we know, like, can you give me some, like, if we're just talking numbers, like what's like ballpark for like retail for, like, say, let's run through a couple, like if you got it, like SA08 or the Orion, like over and under, or and do you know what the side by sides are going to kind of be close to? And obviously you can't, this isn't gospel, like, because there's sales, there's other stores, like you never know what's going on, but just a ballpark.
Yeah, so MSRP on the Orion side by side is 1,099,
Oh, crap.
and then the over and unders are 1,049. So, and then when you get into like say the Element line and the SA08, so they'll start at 649, and then they'll
Right.
go based on like Cerakote, Hydro
Sure.
Dip, stuff like that. And then the 18Is, you're going to start at 1149 for a synthetic, and then all of our waterfowlers, whether they're our First Light Cipher, if it's where it's Cerakote and dipped,
Right.
or if it's just a straight dip, they're all 1249. And then you have the 18I Deluxe, which has got the fancier wood stock, brushed nickel receiver with the engraving. You're looking at 1899 on that guy, and that's your fancier gun that you're going to typically see on the clay course or out in the pheasant field. So
Yeah, bro, you guys know better than them. I can't do that.
I don't send you anything fancy. I learned long ago.
I mean, 1249 is a steal. So I don't know. So yeah, I mean, seriously look at it, because it's in those options of what you can buy and what you look around and what you can see. So the Element's in 12 and 20.
Correct.
Only in 3-inch.
Correct.
And then you move up.
Yeah,
Right.
so then 18I is in the waterfowl line, and the synthetic stock line is only 12 gauge.
Right.
In the deluxe, we do 12 and 20 on that guy.
Right.
So, and then the one thing, when you jump into the 18I, you're talking cryo chokes, you're talking compatibility with magazine tube extensions.
Yeah.
There's aftermarket charging handles for it from like Grumpy Duck, Sure Cycle, those guys. So you have your options that you can kind of dial it in the way you want. So
yeah, you totally can on that. And that's in 3-inch and 3.5-inch. So you definitely have more options to do some things with the 18I. But like, the Element isn't nothing to sneeze at when you can get in at that price. And like I said, that 20 is killer. Cole really likes that. I actually like shooting it. So that's just something. There's a ton of options to look at and what to do. And listen, I know this isn't a rifle podcast, but what's new on the rifle side? Because I mean, that is a huge part of the business. And listen, guys, I always talk about my dad, and he would talk about, oh my God, he's got a Mark V and the wood on it. And we go back to way back. And it's like, you guys have such a long name on the rifle side that it's just so easy when you say that, it's quality. And listen, that's also on the shotgun side. I keep saying that, you know what I mean? Just because it's like, oh, Weatherby's making shotguns, like, which they have for over 50 years, Tyler. But it's like, it's not just like, oh, it's a Weatherby shotgun. Like, it's not a throwaway, folks. Like, it's legit made. So what on the rifle side is new and cracking that guys are chasing?
I'll let you go.
I can take this one, Kyle. Yeah, so we have our Mark V. So we have our traditional line of Mark Vs from Ackie Marks to Backcountry. We launched a new Apex this year. So still the Mark V, 6 lug, 9 lug action. We still have kind of our traditional original action there. And then we have our Vanguard lineup, which kind of starts anywhere from $700 and goes up to $1,500. But new for us, is just a few months old, is we came out with a whole new action called the Model 307. So it's different than a Mark V, different than a Vanguard, but kind of sits right in between. It's a Remington 700 compatible action. So for the guys who want to add aftermarket triggers, aftermarket stocks, kind of be more of a tinker or do a custom build that's not already a Mark V, this is going to be an action that's made for that person. So it's going to have a drop box magazine, something that we haven't really done before. So that's the new side on the rifle side. There's a ton of information. You should check that one out online. We'll have a couple of models out right away, and maybe by the time this podcast is out, we might have 1 or 2 more. So
well, and I know a lot of guys, just from being at shows and stuff, talking rifles. Like, usually I just go talk to the rifle guy. But guys have asked for the magazine drop. Like, that's been something they've definitely asked for, and you guys are bringing that. So that's cool, because I know guys have been asking for that or want that option,
Yeah, and it'll be a really good option for the guy who wants to do like NRL Hunter, which is kind of a competition series that's not so PRS-y, but it like is a combination of, hunting scenario shots. This is going to be a perfect rifle for that. I mean, that magazine is going to be AICS compatible. So on like the short actions, you're going to be able to run a 10 round mag aftermarket and stuff like that. So, and it's going to be a trigger tech trigger. So it's already going to have a super quality trigger on it.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be a 2-position safety. So very much like push it forward and you're ready to rock, which is a little bit different than the Vanguard, which is a 3-position safety. And then our Mark V is a 2-position safety, but it's a true 2-position safety, not a competition style safety.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a big game guy. I'm not a rifle like crazy, but all I know is the Vanguard. I have the Vanguard Weather Guard is what I have. And it's a freaking, I like that. That's a killer. So I'm only in 223. I'm not in big boy pants yet because I'm not chasing anything. So when
Mario,
I
I'm
do,
excited for the day that you cash in your points that you have in Oregon that you're telling me about, because we're gonna have to get you hooked up with either a 307 or a Mark V. Man, I'm thinking Mark V, 300 Weatherby, go super traditional, and you go and just smack an elk. That's what I want to see.
Well, I'm waiting for the moment he does too, because I think he's going to stand up and his hands are just going to be shaking, and he's going to turn around and he's just going to be.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I don't know what to do.
Well, I got points, so it's just all a matter of when I'm going to cash them in. And it's funny. I keep talking to Tim at Loopold and his wife Riza, and I was like, they get to go, duck hunting or goose hunting with me because they're right down the road here whenever they have time to go. And I said, they're like, we just like going, but we don't know anything about this stuff. And I go, that's fine. I said, when I cash in my points, like you guys are taking me because I don't know squat about that. So I'm just like, I'm cashing in all the favors then. Same with you guys. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll leave that to you guys.
I'm pumped. We're gonna have to do a Mark V rifle, and then their Mark V scope's pretty darn solid. So we're gonna have to get you on one of those on there too. So.
He's just going to turn us into pack mules too. He's going to shoot at the very bottom of the canyon, and it's going to have to come out.
Yeah.
Bro, are you kidding me? Like, what else would I do? Like, I pack all the crap doing waterfowl season. Like, somebody has to do the work on this stuff. So, no, I'll pack my fair share of crap out. God.
We'll have it all out by the time you're up there figuring out what to do with your hands.
What for the season? What are you guys looking forward to in the fall? Like, do you guys have anything planned or anything that comes up? Huh?
Tyler's got a good one.
I have a couple of good ones. I'll give you guys a quick rundown. I do have to jump here pretty soon, but
go ahead. Let's hear it. We could close down in a little bit, but go ahead, tell me.
We can close with the hunts we're excited about. So for me, I get to go. I'm going to do an Alaska moose float trip, so that will be a really fun one. So I'm excited about that. On the waterfowl side, I was supposed to go to Canada with you guys, which I don't know if I'm going now because of moose hunting.
Hunting.
But then my other big trip is, fingers crossed, I'm working on this one, is going to Kodiak to do some deer, but then do some sea duck hunting. So that is going to be my hopefully big waterfowl trip of the year.
Nice. Well, there you go. Bro, we set up all these trips and then he has to go shoot a moose instead of I
always get pulled somewhere else. So one of these times we'll do a big trip.
I just don't think he likes duck hunting with me anymore. I think that's the problem.
Well, none of us do, but we just tolerate you. So we just, we just let you tag along. So Tyler, if you got to jump, you could jump and I'll finish up with Kyle and we'll get off. So.
All right. Sounds good, guys. It was good chatting with you.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Mark, Tyler.
So yeah. And so what do you got? Obviously we got a ton of stuff planned. We got Canada. We got Canada maybe twice.
Definitely.
We got we got a bunch of stuff.
We might do Idaho too.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do 2-shot again in Wyoming.
Yep.
We're definitely going to that. We're definitely going to Montana with John and everybody and Alex and the guy who hunts with Alex. And and some other things. So yeah, I'm closing some stuff up now, so we should be able to get a couple other things going. So we should be in good shape. And we
Yeah.
got a couple things up our sleeves here coming this year that'll help us shoot a couple more
Oh yeah, yeah.
PCs and
There's no
whatnot.
shortage of bird hunting. I think my big game one this year is I'm going to Scotland. So I am doing red stag.
Jerk.
Yeah, between those two Canada trips. So my wife won't remember who I am.
That's all right. She doesn't like you anyway, bud. The
No,
more
she
you're
just
gone, the
tolerates.
better. All right. Awesome podcast. If anybody has any questions or about buying a gun, fixing something, like whatever you got questions on, obviously you can go and contact Weatherby customer service. You can get a hold of anybody there. You go to the website, you could look at the social pages just to stay up on what they have going, which is an easy, click and follow and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So all that stuff is super easy. So, I mean, that's pretty easy. And I mean, as far as us, like it's same thing. Find us on Facebook and Instagram, and get on our YouTube channel so you can see all the places me and Kyle and all the guys go on our web series on the Last Pass. And last but not least, thanks to Weatherby for being a partner, and of course Federal and Roger Sporting Goods and Loophole and Tyler up at Saskatchewan Goose Company. So that's the nuts and bolts of it today. So pretty good info today. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Listen,
All right.
appreciate everything. Thanks for everything. And it'll be soon enough. We'll be in the woods. Can't wait.
Not too much longer. And I'll see you at Delta Waterfowl in July.
That's right. All right, folks, appreciate everybody checking it out and tuning into the podcast. That is it for the FA podcast today. Check us out online, fabrand.com.